If your nervous system feels tired and you're longing for a deeper, more embodied connection with the divine, I'd love to invite you to my free Sacred Intimacy Snapshot. In just a few minutes, you'll discover which area of intimacy in your life is asking for care right now, and you'll receive a gentle 4-part mini course to help you tend to what's next on your journey. You can take it at innerlightcompanion.com. Welcome to the Inner Light Companion, a space to personalize your spiritual journey with the 12 sacred intimacies. I'm Tamara Ridge, your companion and guide. Each episode of this podcast explores a facet of connection with the divine, yourself, others, and the world, offering clear markers to recognize, gentle practices to try, and stories that help you grow what's strong and tend to what needs to grow. Move at your pace and use the name for the holy that fits your heart. This isn't therapy or advice. It's a meeting of souls, a place to listen deeply, ask real questions, and remember the wisdom already within you. I invite you now to take a breath. Let's begin. Have you ever been in a conversation where you're nodding and smiling, but inside you're screaming something completely different? Or have you ever tried to pray, but the words feel hollow, like you're performing for an audience instead of talking to someone who actually knows you? Maybe you've sat across from someone you love, desperately wanting them to hear you. But no matter what you say, they're already planning their response, already fixing, already defending. Today we're talking about what happens when communication intimacy breaks down and the gentle practices that can bring it back to life. This is episode 3 in our communication intimacy series. We've explored what communication intimacy is and how to recognize when it's present. Today, we're getting practical. What problems does communication intimacy solve? And what can you do when you realize your voice has gone missing? Let me tell you, these aren't theoretical problems. These are the patterns I see every single day in my therapy practice. They're the wounds that I've carried myself. And the practices that I'm sharing today are what helped me find my voice again after decades of silence. I believe they'll help you too. Let's dive in. Problem number 1 is you can't speak your truth without shutting down. You know what needs to be said. You've rehearsed it in your head maybe 1,000 times. But when the moment comes to actually speak, your throat closes. Your heart races. Your mind maybe just goes blank. Or worse, the words come out, but they're the wrong words. They're the safe words. The people-pleasing words. The words that keep you small and acceptable. This happens because your nervous system learned early that speaking your truth equals danger. Maybe you were punished for questioning in your religious community. Maybe your family shamed you for having needs. Maybe past relationships taught you that honesty gets you abandoned. So your body developed a brilliant survival strategy: silence. But that doesn't come without a cost. You betray yourself over and over, saying yes when you mean no. Resentment builds because nobody actually knows what you need, because you haven't said it. And your relationship stays surface level because the real you is hidden. Your connection with the divine stays performative because you are afraid to be honest, even in prayer. So if you want a practice to overcome this, you would need to start with creating safety in your body first, because you cannot speak truth from a dysregulated nervous system. Before any difficult conversation or even before prayer, try this. Put both hands on your heart. Take 3 slow breaths, exhaling longer than you inhale. And in your mind, silently repeat something like this. My truth is welcome here. I'm allowed to speak. Even if my voice shakes, I'm safe. Then speak just one true sentence. Not the whole truth, just one sentence. You're practicing here. And this teaches your nervous system, I can handle small doses of truth. I don't have to say everything at once. Practice with God first. In prayer or journaling, speak one uncomfortable truth. I'm angry with you. I don't understand why you let this happen. I feel abandoned. The divine can handle your honesty. And as your body learns that truth-telling doesn't equal annihilation, you'll find your voice growing stronger in human relationships too. Problem number 2, you're hearing words, but you're not really listening. So someone's talking to you, your partner, your child, a friend, and you're physically present, but your mind is planning what you're going to say, defending yourself against what they're implying, fixing the problem they're describing, judging whether or not their feelings are valid. You're hearing, but you're not listening. And they can feel that. This happens because real listening requires you to be present in your body and regulated enough to stay open and vulnerable enough to be changed by what you hear. If your nervous system is activated, anxious, defensive, overwhelmed, you literally can't listen. You can only survive. What this costs you is that people stop trusting you with their feelings. Conversations become transactions instead of connection. You miss the divine speaking to you in the quiet moments because you're too activated to hear. And your relationships stay stuck in the same patterns because nobody's actually being witnessed. So a gentle practice for this problem is, before you try to listen to someone else, ask yourself, is my nervous system resourced enough to be present right now? If the answer is no, if you're too angry, too overwhelmed, too defensive, it's okay to say, I want to hear you, but I need 10 minutes to settle my system down first. Can we pause? Then use this listening breath practice. Sit or lie down where you feel supported. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Repeat that 5 times. As you breathe, place your attention on the other person or on God if you're praying, and silently say, I am here. I'm listening. I don't need to fix or defend. I just need to be present. And when you return to the conversation, practice sacred listening. Here's what you do or don't do. Don't interrupt. Don't offer solutions unless asked. Let silence be okay. And reflect back what you heard. What I'm hearing is, This isn't a communication technique. It's a nervous system practice. You're training your body to stay present instead of going into threat response. And here's the beautiful part. The more you practice this with people, the more you'll notice the divine speaking to you in ordinary moments because your nervous system will be calm enough to receive. The third problem, your prayer life feels performative and empty. You pray, but it feels like you're reciting a script, hitting the right notes, saying what you're supposed to say instead of what you actually feel. Maybe you thank God for blessings when you're actually furious. Maybe you confess sins out of obligation, not genuine remorse. Maybe you avoid praying altogether because the whole thing feels fake. This happens if you grew up in a high control religion where you were taught that communication with God requires the right words that are approved, prayers, testimony language, the right posture, worthiness, humility, and gratitude, and the right outcome, feeling the Spirit and getting an answer. Your prayer became performance for approval instead of honest conversation. And your nervous system knows it's not real, so it shuts down. You go through the motions, but there's no life in it. And what that costs you is that you lose access to the intimate, direct relationship with the divine that you're craving. Your spiritual practice feels like obligation instead of refuge. You don't trust your own spiritual experience because they don't match the approved script. You feel spiritually lonely, even when you're doing everything right. I'm developing a 4-week online retreat called Awakening Your Inner Light, specifically for people coming out of high control religion who want to learn meditation, how to trust their intuition, and how to build direct connection with the divine. If you want to be on the early access list, email me at tamara@innerlightcompanion.com. That's TAMARA at innerlightcompanion.com. So, what do you do for this? First, you give yourself permission to pray badly. And I mean that. For the next week, your only job is to show up in prayer and tell the truth, even if it's messy, angry, doubting, or half-formed. Try this. Find a time and a place where you won't be interrupted. This creates a rhythm your nervous system can trust. Sit however feels comfortable. You don't have to be on your knees. You don't have to be in a lotus posture. There's no required posture. Put your hand on your heart and say, I'm here. I don't have fancy words. I'm just showing up. Then speak or write whatever is actually true for you in this moment. I'm exhausted and I don't know if I can keep going. I'm angry that my prayer wasn't answered. I feel nothing right now, and I don't know if you're even listening. Then sit in silence for 60 seconds. Don't force an answer. Just notice the sensations, thoughts, and feelings that you're having. And then end by saying, this is my prayer, as messy as it is. You're teaching your nervous system, I can approach the divine without pretending. My real self is welcome here. Over time, through repetition, not intensity, your prayer life will become conversation instead of performance. And that's when real spiritual intimacy begins. Problem number 4, conflict sends you into freeze or fawn. So when someone disagrees with you, challenges you, or expresses anger, your system goes offline. You either freeze, so you can't think, you can't speak, and you find yourself dissociating, or you fawn, apologizing for things that aren't your fault, collapsing your boundaries, agreeing to things that you don't mean. And then later, when you're alone, the perfect response comes to you. But in the moment, nothing. Why this happens is that if you grew up in an environment where disagreement was dangerous, where questioning was punished, where anger meant abuse, where conflict meant abandonment, your nervous system wired itself for survival, not for healthy disagreement. Your body learned that conflict equals threat, and that the safest thing to do is disappear. And what that costs you is that you cannot set boundaries because you collapse under pressure. And so people walk over you because you can't hold your ground. Your relationships lack depth because you can't work through difficult things. And you can't receive correction or feedback without feeling annihilated. So the practice you can do, if this is a problem you've had, is you need to practice conflict in safe, small doses. So your nervous system learns it can survive disagreement. Start with a low-stakes practice. Disagree with someone about something minor, like a movie or a restaurant choice. And then notice what happens in your body when you actually say, I see it differently. Remember to breathe. Stay present. Don't apologize for your perspective. And then notice the relationship didn't end. I'm still safe. You want to practice that over and over and build up slowly so you can express a preference when someone asks your opinion instead of, I don't care, whatever you want. You can set a small boundary. I need to think about that before I give you an answer. Or name a feeling in the moment. I'm noticing I feel defensive right now and I want to stay present with you. This is about co-regulation. You're teaching your nervous system that you can hold your ground and stay connected to someone at the same time. As you practice this in human relationships, something beautiful happens because you stop being afraid to bring difficult things to God. You realize the divine can hold your doubt, your anger, your hard questions without abandoning you. And that's when your spiritual communication becomes truly intimate because nothing is off limits anymore. The next problem is you don't know if what you're hearing is intuition or fear. So you get a sense about something, a feeling, a nudge, an inner knowing. Feels like intuition, but then you second guess yourself. Is this God speaking or is it just my anxiety? Is this intuition or am I making it up? Should I trust this or am I being deceived? So because you don't know, you ignore it. You ask someone else. You look for external validation and your inner voice gets quieter and quieter. This happens because in high control religion, you were taught that your inner knowing is dangerous unless it's verified by authority or fits their mold. You were taught that you can be deceived by Satan if you trust yourself, that spiritual experiences only count if they match the approved narrative. So you learn to distrust your inner voice, to outsource your spiritual knowing to leaders, parents, manuals, and community consensus. What that costs you is that you cannot access your intuition even when it's screaming at you. You make decisions based on what others think you should do, not what's true for you. You miss the divine's guidance because you're waiting for it to come through someone else. And you live disconnected from your own wisdom. What can you do to fix this? You need to rebuild trust in your body's signals. And that happens through practice and repetition, not through getting it perfect. Start with this daily practice. Find a quiet moment. Same time each day helps your nervous system trust this pattern. And close your eyes and take 3 regulating breaths. Then ask yourself a simple question with a clear answer. Does my body need water right now? Or am I actually hungry or am I anxious? Then notice what you feel. Sensation, impulse, knowing. Then act on it without overthinking and observe the result. You're teaching your body, I can trust my internal signals. I don't need external permission to know what's true for me. As this capacity grows, bring bigger questions to your inner knowing. Does this relationship feel safe to me? Is this the right decision for me right now? What is the divine inviting me toward? And here's the key. Welcome whatever arises. Doubt, confusion, partial knowing, contradictions. All of it is part of the conversation. Your intuition doesn't have to be perfect to be real. The more you practice listening to yourself without judgment, the clearer the signals become. And the more you'll recognize the difference between fear, which contracts you, and intuition, which expands you, even when it's uncomfortable. So we've named 5 major problems that communication intimacy solves. You can't speak your truth without shutting down. You're hearing but not really listening. Your prayer life feels performative. Conflict sends you into freeze or fawn. You don't trust your own intuition. Let me give you a simple daily practice that addresses all of them. It takes 10 minutes, and it works because it trains your nervous system through gentle repetition, not dramatic breakthrough. So first, we want to create safety in your body. So sit comfortably with your hand on your heart. Take 3 slow breaths with exhales that are longer than the inhales. And say to yourself, I am safe here. My truth is welcome. Nothing I feel makes me wrong. This is creating the internal environment where honest communication becomes possible with yourself, with God, and with others. And then I want you to speak one true thing. Journal or speak aloud one honest sentence about what you're actually feeling without editing it, without making it spiritual, without performance. Some examples would be, I'm terrified about this decision. I'm angry that this keeps happening. I feel nothing right now, and that scares me. You're practicing speaking truth in a safe container. And so your nervous system learns this is survivable. Then I want you to listen without agenda. Ask the divine, what do you want me to know right now? And then sit in silence and notice whatever arises. Word, sensation, image, nothing. Don't force it. Don't judge it. Don't perform certainty. You're practicing receptivity, the other half of communication, not just speaking, but being willing to receive. And then welcome what your body is telling you. Scan your body from head to toe and notice, where is there tension? Where is there ease? Ask, what is my body trying to tell me? Don't interpret it, just acknowledge it. I notice tightness in my chest. I'm listening. This rebuilds trust in your body's wisdom. Your intuition lives here, not in your head. Then to close and integrate, I want you to place both hands on your heart and say, I'm building my capacity to communicate with truth and presence. This practice matters even when it feels small. So take a second and name one tiny way you'll practice this today. I'll speak one true preference when someone asks my opinion. I'll take a breath before responding in a conversation. I'll notice when I'm performing in prayer and gently return to honesty. This is weaving the practice into your daily life, not keeping it isolated in a meditation session. So this isn't just about communication with the divine. We also need to answer the question, how do you bring this into your actual relationships with people you love, people you work with, people who trigger you? The first practice is a 24-hour pause. When someone asks you for something and your instinct is to immediately say yes, even though you want to say no, practice this. Let me think about that and get back to you tomorrow. That's it. You're creating space for your nervous system to regulate and for your true answer to emerge. You're giving yourself permission to have preferences instead of automatically fawning. And this teaches you, my needs matter. I don't have to perform immediate availability to be loved. Practice number 2 is naming your experience in real time. So when you're in a conversation and notice that you're getting defensive, shutting down, feeling flooded, or starting to fawn, practice saying, I'm noticing I'm feeling defensive, overwhelmed, activated right now. I want to stay present with you. Can we slow down for a minute? This is radical transparency. You're not pretending. You're including your body's experience in the conversation. And here's what's beautiful. When you model this, you give the other person permission to do the same thing. And that's when real intimacy becomes possible. The third practice is offering sacred listening to someone that you love. So once a week, practice being a sacred witness for someone. Invite them. I have 20 minutes. Is there anything you need to say that you just need me to hear, not fix? Sit with them without your phone. Regulate your own nervous system first. So breathe and ground yourself. And then listen without interrupting, advising, or defending. And when they finish, simply say, thank you for trusting me with that. With this, you're creating the conditions for safe connection. And as you do this for others, you'll start recognizing when it's being offered to you and you'll be able to receive it. Here's what I want you to remember. Communication intimacy isn't about having the perfect words. It's about creating the conditions where truth-telling becomes safe in your own body, in your relationships, and in your connection with the divine. The problems we talked about today, not being able to speak without shutting down, not being able to listen without defending, prayer that feels performative, conflict that overwhelms you, having trouble trusting your intuition, these aren't character flaws. These are nervous system adaptations to the environments where authentic communication wasn't safe. And the gentle practices that I've shared, they work because they help your body learn a new truth. I can be honest and stay connected. I can listen without losing myself. I can disagree without being abandoned. I can trust my own inner knowing. The divine can handle my real self. This doesn't happen through one breakthrough conversation or one powerful prayer. It happens through daily practice, gentle repetition, and accumulating moments where your nervous system experiences safety. 10 minutes a day. One honest statement. One regulated breath before responding. One moment of true listening. That's how you build communication intimacy. Not through perfection, but through presence. So for this week's practice, I would invite you to choose one of the problems that we talked about and commit to one gentle practice around it for 7 days. This week, practice the 10-minute sacred communication practice once. Just once. Then tell me what shifted. I read every message. Next week, we're concluding our communication intimacy series with stories and integration. Real examples of what communication intimacy looks like when it's healed and embodied. Until next time, beloved, practice speaking one true thing. Practice listening without agenda. Practice trusting that your voice matters, your truth is welcome, and the divine is listening. You are never too far from authentic connection. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. As you step into your day, notice which intimacies stirred for you, and then choose one small practice and let it meet you where you are. You want support? Grab the free Sacred Intimacy Snapshot, and when you're ready, the full Sacred Intimacy Assessment that can guide your next steps. Links are in the show notes. Until next time, walk gently, listen deeply, and trust the light within.